So I am in the company of Mr. Sutton, 103 years old.
102.
102. I'll give you an extra year. Yes. How are you doing, Mr. Sutton?
Well, fine.
All right. So Dad asked me if I could conduct an interview with you.
Yeah.
And is in connection with the days, your hunting days.
Yeah.
When you first purchased your gun.
Yes. 10th of October, 1950.
What type of gun was it?
Harrington and Richardson. The serial number was J23806.
Yeah. Watch me, I hope you was a sharpshooter, as you have such a sharp brain to it.
I was really a sharpshooter because at the days when I purchased the gun, in those days there was no restriction in the purchase of ammunition. And we was in possession of 3 types of cartridges in those days: pneumatic, Super DD, and Canuck. And those cartridges, nobody used to purchase them. So I could have used as much as I want just for target practice. So every Sunday I'll use 25 rounds practicing. Every Sunday, 25 rounds. And when I get perfect at one angle, I change another. Standing, swooping, and even at flying items, I'll roll a breadfruit down the hill and shoot at it. And because I could have used it, get the ammunition free. So I had no problem of using it. And in that way, I became one of the best in the shooting business. I was very, very, I must say, and to miss, no, missing was not my hobby.
Missing is not an option.
No, target.
Yes.
Wherein it other huntermen, they never had that privilege to use that amount of ammunition just for target practice. I'd go down in the bush and put a pommel across on that thing and start shooting at it. Every time you shoot, you go and you watch and see where the shot cut, where it hit. And then you will know how to change your target or so. Sometimes you see, you aim too high. You lower your gaze on it. That's the way I learned to shoot.
But you had anybody that would have been giving you tips, like maybe like a policeman or soldier?
None whatsoever.
So you just pick up the gun and with constant
Yes.
practice, you became a marksman.
A marksman. And you see, I'll tell you again, my hobby was Western. And a Western is a lot of shooting in a Western picture. A lot of shooting. Take a look at Return of Jack Slade. Jack Slade's son become a marksman through practicing, daily practicing. So by watching at these pictures, I had the idea of how to become a marksman.
So you will say that definitely from looking at the Western pictures
Of course.
and see that man practicing,
Right.
you just basically incorporate it into your own
My
life.
my own life.
So it is possible that even probably through a movie that we could become whoever we want to become, eh?
Of course it could. It's possible. You could become what you want to become by a movie, but according to the type of movie.
Right. So which leads to the question, due to your fine shooting skills, did this attract other hunters to you?
Yeah, a lot of other hunters from all through the east.
They want to go and hunt with Mr. Sutton.
Yeah,
They hear he's a marksman.
a marksman. And besides that, the idea is not is when you're hunting, you want to catch animal. And when you have a marksman, you know you're coming home with game. I used to hunt with this Mr. the head of the fire service, Tommy Myers. In those days, all these men used to come from Palestine and to go with me and hunt, a lot of different men. Because Tommy Myers, he had those days during the 50s, 60s, he was the chief fire officer at Rising Road.
Good man. So I understand how many years you had this
The firearm,
firearm for?
I bought it on the 10th of October, 1950, and I surrendered it in April 1937. 1997,
1997. So 47 years.
around that time.
Okay. What led to you surrendering the weapon? Your age?
No.
Stop hunting?
The safety reason.
Safety. Okay.
After my wife passed away and I was living alone, I think it was wise to surrender the gun because for certain information I got, a lot of people was after that gun. So I feel it was better surrender it and be safe than keeping it and getting in trouble.
I understand. Okay. As we talking about surrendering a weapon, for a person that decides to keep a weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's a lot of safety and responsibility in being the holder of a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
What is one of the most important, or what are a couple of the important tips to bear in mind when you are the owner of a firearm?
Well, in my case, when I went to surrender my gun, they didn't want to accept my surrender. I don't know the reason, but they told me I have to give them in writing that I don't want the gun again. And I did that. Years after, I was summoned to the police station, and they tell me I have to tell them in writing what to do with the firearm. After all these years, after surrendering it, they were always telling them I would not need it again, but still they wanted me to tell them what they must do with it. That is one part I can understand.
Right.
Because as though, I'll tell you again, it was a special weapon. It was imported directly for me. So it means that if I tell them sell it, they'll sell it. If I say, so I just tell them they could do whatever they want to do with it. So it was up to them.
Okay.
That was in 2014.
Right. In terms of children being in a home where there's a firearm, should we be even more cautious, knowing that, especially like little boys may be very interested in wanting to...
Yes, you must be very conscious. I could tell you that. Very, very conscious. Because, young boys, especially some boys, they're interested in firearms and not knowing the use and the danger of firearm. They could endanger themselves and endanger others. In my case, the inspector told me not to give up the gun. He said, you have 2 sons and let them apply for a user's permit, and they'll grant them the user's permit, and I will have the owner's permit.
Right.
But none of my boys wanted anything to do with guns.
Well, Mr. Sutton, I want to thank you very much for sharing this story here with us.
Yeah.
And just to let everybody know, we are actually in the back of Orange Grove, where the sugarcane factory used to be. And what you're seeing here in front of me is one of the ponds, right? From what I understand, they had 2 ponds. They will usually pump water from one pond to go and cool the machinery. And then, so if you notice, on this side here where you see all those lilies, that's a pond, and there's another pond here. So most likely they would have taken from this pump, pass it through the machinery, right? You see all the canals. I did a video. There's a underground waterway. So they will run the water through the cooling system, and then the hot water will be returned to this pond. So from this pond, then it will cool, and they keep taking from this pond here. So guys, that's just our little history, and we hope that you enjoyed this little clip today.
Yes.
Thanks as always.
We are at the blue water places. Where that is.
It's supposed to be right out there, so as we pass in, we will check it out, guys. But this place is really nice.
Yeah.
Them fellas have a boat and a raft there,
Yeah.
You seen it?
No, I can't see anything.
They will never believe that this is right off the highway.
I was inside there when I ran home. But I get out.
Mr. Vic,
Yeah.
you're telling me something about in your day you visited a warship?
I was at K-39.
K-39.
Yes, that's what you know.
Okay. But how did you get this privilege to go on a warship? What year that would be?
1941.
How you happen to be on this warship?
Well, they had an open day really for everybody, but in my case, I was the first to go on board. The American general, I was working with him, he was surveying the sea, in the bottom of the sea. Some place you'll find the soil is muddy. Plenty people don't know that. Some places have weeds, some places have grass, some parts have sand, different types of, some parts have rocks. That is how the bottom of, that is why you see some places you hear a ship will run aground if it run off the coast, it's like a train running on the line.
Okay. So tell me, when you went on the warship, you said that a while ago that the first thing you went to look for was the...
We look at the gun, the big gun, the cannon.
You always liked guns, didn't you?
Yeah,
Okay. You were impressed with the cannon?
of course. The size and the everything and all these mechanism. When you fire out this cannon, it go backward and forward, and then it settles again, waiting for the next
shell to get in.
the next shell to get in.
So did you go down into the engine room also?
Yeah?
You went down into the engine room?
The only place they wouldn't allow you to go is the room where they had the storing all the ammunition then. Yeah, nobody, that is off limit.
Off limit, okay.
And you must understand, if a man go down there and do something wrong and this whole thing explode.
You wouldn't be wrong to tell it, eh?
Not at all.
So how did you gain this privilege really?
I was working with these American people because when they test the soil, because the American man even offered me a job. He said I could work with them. But I didn't accept the job. I moved up to Sandy Grande.
What would have happened if you had accepted the job?
Well, that is something Lance had to think about because I moved up to Sandy Grande for one reason. I was in love with Miss Sutton.
You were in love. That is so sweet.
And I don't know, if I accept, look, life down there and life, what it will be two different kind of life. I don't know how the life would end up or so if I...
How did you manage in the war years?
Huh?
The war years, what were they like for you? I mean, I've been looking recently at some, some documentaries on the war and the kind of atrocities that came out of the war.
Yeah.
How did we in Trinidad, how did we cope with such?
You see, the American opened up two bases in Trinidad. The Army base in Kumutu and the naval base in Shagaramas. And they had employment for a lot of people and the money was flowing. Yankee dollars. If you could remember the calypso. Father, mother, and daughter working for the Yankee dollar.
So you worked also for the Yankee dollar?
Never.
No?
No, as I told you, I didn't remain Shagaramas. I came up, and during those days I worked for Marley and Company.
Okay, Marley and Company. Do you know any Trinidadians who ended up in the war? Fighting for the, fighting against...
No, I don't know any.
You don't know any? But we have a big memorial park around the savannah there.
Yes. You see, the American and the British had to protect Trinidad because they had a lot of investment in Trinidad at the time.
Like what?
The oil field, the two oil fields at those days was Texaco and Shell. Those two oil fields was owned by America. And then they had British Petroleum owned by Britain.
So there were a lot of interest down here.
All right, and then they had Caroni 1975 Limited. That was State and Lie. That was also owned by Britain. So they had a lot of interest in Trinidad. And Remember, the location of Trinidad is stand directly, as they say, between the old wall and the new wall.
Mm-hmm.
So to go between the new wall and the old wall, there's where Trinidad stand in the center, so it comes like a stepping stone.
Okay, so there'll always be an interest down here.
Of always be an interest of it.
Yes, Victor, that is interesting.
And now, you see, that is why you don't see the Panama Canal.
Mm-hmm.
It's straight between, again, the new wall and the old wall. And that's straight from the Panama, straight to Trinidad. If you think about, all right, the old time days, where Columbus come to, the Serpent Mouth. Where Abadoka come to, the Serpent Mouth.
Abadak, who?
Abadoka.
Explain that, please.
Well, Abadoka in those days, you know, when they had a lot of pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Abadoka was one of them. And he came to the Serpent Mouth, end up in Shagaramas. That is right where I know the spot right. I could go and show people the spot where Abadoka, when he couldn't escape, he set the ship afire with all his men on it. All the gold and silver and all this thing remain right there in the bottom of the sea. I know the place good.
They ever salvage that?
A man come from Britain to salvage it, and he died, but he touched the bottom, and as soon as he touched the bottom of the sea, he go down in his diving mask. As soon as he touched the bottom, he was dead.
Jack Sparrow had him or what?
Yeah?
Jack Sparrow took him?
I don't know what took him, but we were on the beach, Lance. I am not telling you what I heard, you know.
Uh-huh.
We were on the beach as little boys and looking on at, because it wasn't far from shore. Just a distance as from here to, not even as far as the house, the Dracula house.
Mm-hmm.
So looking on, I could attest to that.
Okay, let me ask you this now. Where was this man from, actually?
England.
Oh, he was from England?
Yeah.
And he did piracy in the old days?
I don't know if he did piracy or what he had, if he had a map, but he came while, and the boat he was in was flying the British flag.
And you say this is not hearsay, you saw it with your eyes, your own eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Abadoka gold
Mm-hmm.
is still there in the sea.
Okay, so we can hire you to lead us to that spot then.
I could lead you to it, and when I show you this spot, I'm going home and leave it to look for you.
Okay, Victor, tell me something. Years ago, I heard that there was a submarine that had surfaced in our waters.
Of course.
Where was?
All right, that is just off again, I'm telling you, just off the coast of Shagaramas and Gaspari. My brother and myself was fishing in our little boat, and Lance, when that submarine surfaced, I was so frightened. I was never so frightened in my life. This big monster, and we just around there in a little boat. And then they opened the hatch and they start waving to us. And
Was it a British submarine?
yes,
British
yeah.
or American?
I don't know which one of them, but
Okay.
I think it was a British. I could testify to that too, because I was right there when it surfaced.
Did any submarine ever run aground in our waters?
No, well, that I never heard about any run aground in our home.
So the one that surfaced when you were there with your brother in the little boat, it remained in Trinidad for a while?
Well, it was passing. I think it was going as though it was heading for the Spain.
Oh,
But it come through
the Bocas?
the Bocas.
Uh-huh.
And when it had to surface because it couldn't go further without grounding, without running aground.
So did they get off the boat and the submarine and come ashore or anything like that?
No, they just changed course.
They changed course. But they waved to you all,
Yes.
the gentlemen, they came on deck and waved.
And that is what caused us to, to pass that time. I might eat not, I might have dead with fright.
Yes. So tell me, Victor, once more, this matter of the war years, how did it impact upon you? And you thought it was a wasted war?
All war.
I mean,
All war for me is wasted. Too much innocent people suffering. And I could testify that the amount of people I know suffer hardship through the cause of the war. I didn't for one reason. Because I chose to work at Mali, and Mali had, the wholesale and retail, and regardless of what was short in the line of food, and the most important thing was food, I had it, to my hand reach. So me and my family was all right in that case, and I was able to assist and help others.
Well, Victor, thank you very much for the stroll down memory lane, and with the submarine and the gold that was lost and whatnot.
But I would tell you, I was really, really frightened when that submarine submerged and so near to me.
But you could have gone for a little trip on it, man.
Me? I was too frightened at the time. And besides that, I'll go for a trip on a warship, but not a submarine.
Well, Victor, thank you, Thank you very much. Okay, folks. Up next is a segment we call 5 Minutes with Victor Sutton. Victor Sutton is a man of varied experiences. At the age of 102, he has seen a lot happen in this country. He has experienced a lot of personal, events in his own life, and we want to treasure the wealth of information he has at store. Now, over the period of decades, Mr. Sutton would have met a lot of people in this country. And today I am curious about our former deceased Police Commissioner Randolph Burrows, when they met. And maybe Victor could tell us in 5 minutes time, only 5 minutes, what was it like, Victor, to have met Randolph Burrows?
I would say it was an honor. Because I'd heard so much about this Mr. Burrows that it was pleasing to my heart to meet him and talk with him. He came to me. I was sitting outside the gate by where I was working in Mayaro, and asked me for the boss. I told him the boss is sleeping. But he acknowledged, he told me who he was. Explained to me he was Mr. Burrows, Commissioner of Police. So I told him, if you want anything, you could speak to me, because I am fully in charge and the boss is sleeping. So he said, can I have a cup of coffee? I said, sure, just follow me. We went into the kitchen. I put a glass with teacup and saucer in front of him. Cup with I put milk, sugar, and a bottle of Nescafe whilst the water was on the fire. He just sat there looking at me. When he finished, I gave him the water. He made his cup of coffee. He drank. And then he placed order for 6 meals to collect at 11:30. And from that day, every morning, he would come very early for a cup of coffee. After his stay in Meara, which was about a month, I didn't meet him again until when I started to walk Sackville Street in Port of Spain. He came in there all morning, and he happened to see me and called me and started talking to me. And he said, I understand the place in Meara closed down. I said, yes, I understand that, but I haven't been back to Meara since I leave. So he turned to the manager. He said, well, you have a very, very good man here. I think he is the best for this business. And I'm glad he is down here. We want him down here. And I think that recommendation was, because after Burroughs left, the manager asked me about Meara, because he didn't even know I used to work Meara. And so I went and get 4 boys from Meara that used to work with me in Port of Spain. That I could say about Mr. Burroughs.
Very good, sir. Very good. Well, the next time we talk, Victor, I hope you'll be able to tell us a little more about some prominent citizens in our country.
Yeah.
Right? You did mention that once you did have a little stint with Dr. Eric Williams.
Yeah.
Right? And these are just some little 5 minutes.
Yeah, a few minutes.
A few minutes of a little bit of history that we will treasure from the likes of you, Mr. Sutton. So thanks again, once again, and all the best to you and your family. And
yeah.
Well, what can I say? At 102, you far outshine my old memory. So take good care and all the best, sir.
Thank you, Lance.
Mm-hmm.